Well, debate 2 now in the books, but Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton are pressing ahead today on the campaign trail. Hello, everybody. I'm Jenna Lee.
I'm John Scott. It's quite clear the Russians have hacked into our video system, and we're having a little problem with the monitors behind us.
It's not a new look, although it could work for us, maybe.
Vladimir Putin, cut it out. Hey, Clinton and Trump faced off in St. Louis last night for an intense town hall-style debate. It started with no handshake. That got a lot of attention. The candidates answering questions both from the moderators and from a pre-selected group of uncommitted voters. The match came as Trump fought to refocus his campaign after a 2005 video surfaced on Friday, in which he was heard bragging about making unwanted sexual advances on women, an issue that came up in the debate pretty quickly.
This was locker room talk. I'm not proud of it. I apologize to my family. I apologize to the American people. Certainly I'm not proud of it, but this is locker room talk.
With prior Republican nominees for president, I disagreed with them on politics, policies, principles, but I never questioned their fitness to serve. Donald Trump is different. It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
Because Bernie Sanders, between superdelegates and Deborah Wasserman Schultz, he never had a chance. And I was so surprised to see him sign on with the devil.
He owes the president an apology. He owes our country an apology. And he needs to take responsibility for his actions and his words.
When you talk about apology, I think the one that you should really be apologizing for, and the thing that you should be apologizing for, are the 33,000 emails that you deleted and that you acid washed.
As I recall, that was something I said about Abraham Lincoln, and I was making the point that it is hard sometimes to get the Congress to do what you want to do, and you have to keep working at it.
Now she's blaming the lie on the late, great Abraham Lincoln. That's one that I haven't. Okay, Honest Abe never lied. That's the good thing. That's the big difference between Abraham Lincoln and you.
It was rollicking, in a word. We have Fox team coverage. Blake Berman standing by with the latest on the Clinton campaign. Senior national correspondent John Roberts live in St. Louis. John?
John, good morning to you. And Donald Trump back on the campaign trail this afternoon. He's going to be in Ambridge, Pennsylvania, which is northwest of Pittsburgh, and then later on in the day in Wilkes-Barre. Back on the campaign trail after what his campaign and many top Republicans believe was a strong performance at last night's debate. We'll see in the coming days if he managed to move the needle, but at the very least, he appears to have gotten a dressing on the gaping wound that was caused by the release of that hot mic tape from 2005. And Kellyanne Conway this morning on Fox and Friends saying she believes it's absolutely unfair to use the word sexual abuse to describe the incident involving Donald Trump. Listen to her this morning.
And I will tell you, somebody who's worked with and certainly has in my life, as I'm sure we all do, victims of sexual assault, it demeans them to equate that with this for political purposes.
And it looks like stability has returned to the Trump campaign, at least for the time being. Mike Pence was on Fox and Friends this morning. He says it's absolutely not true that he was considering leaving the campaign over the weekend as a result of all of this, but saying he was upset about the release of the tape and what was said on it, and that he had some words of advice on Friday for Donald Trump and what he should do.
I encouraged him to express what I believe is his sincere personal remorse, and he did that Friday night, but I wanted to give him time to show his heart on Sunday night, and I thought he did that, expressing the fact that he was embarrassed, not proud of it.
Now, the House GOP conference will be on a conference call, probably maybe happening right now, to decide what they are going to do about Donald Trump. Will they stick with him, or will we see more defections? We had initially believed that Mike Pence might be addressing the conference over the telephone. Looks like he's not going to be doing that. The leadership of the Republican National Committee as well also holding a conference call at some point today to figure out the way forward. They're looking, John, at what happened last night and saying they're a little more comfortable with Donald Trump on Monday morning than they were on Sunday morning. So we'll see where all of this goes. John?
All right, John Roberts. Thank you, John.
Well, now to the Democrats as Hillary Clinton gears up for a campaign event in Michigan before heading off to the battleground state of Ohio. We're getting new reaction from members of her own party to her performance at last night's debate. Blake Berman with the Fox Business Network is live in St. Louis with more. Blake?
Hi there, Jenna. Good morning to you from St. Louis. When Hillary Clinton left here last night, she spoke briefly with reporters on her plane as she headed back to New York. She said she felt great about how things went here last night and said it wasn't tougher than she expected. Of course, the dynamics of everything somewhat changed a little bit when Donald Trump held that press conference before the debate with several of Bill Clinton's past accusers. Earlier this morning, the Clinton campaign, in the form of its campaign manager, Robbie Mook, said that they were disappointed at that stunt. That's the way he described it prior to the debate. And they said that they felt that Trump throughout the night tried to throw mud and knock Clinton off her game, but they feel that Clinton withstood it, and they say that Trump failed. Of course, one of the lines last night that drew a lot of the attention was when Trump said that should he become president, that his administration would prosecute Clinton. Well, earlier this morning, Mook said to that end, Trump owes Clinton an apology.
I would say it's chilling that Donald Trump thinks that the presidency is like some banana republic dictatorship where you can lock up your political opponents. I think he should apologize.
As for Clinton today, she heads to the Midwest. She will be in Michigan and Ohio, a stop there each. She will be on two different college campuses for voter registration drives. Tim Kaine, he's got a unique event today. He is out in Colorado, and he will be joined by Dave Matthews, the musician, who will put on a concert there. By the way, before we should go, I should also mention that John Podesta, who of course is the campaign chairman for the Clinton campaign, WikiLeaks has just released a new batch of Podesta emails, some 2,000 plus in total. They just put this out here within the last hour, and we are going through them. Jenna, back to you.
Thank you. More on that as we get it. Thank you very much.
For more now on the debate and how both candidates did, let's bring in John McCormick, senior writer for the Weekly Standard. I think you have to agree, John, that Donald Trump had the bigger hill to climb last night. Did he succeed?
You know, at the end of the day, I don't think so. Some have suggested that this was effectively a debate win for Trump. They argue that he stopped the bleeding, that he effectively fought her to a draw the last hour of the debate. The instant polling, the real polling, not fan polls, suggests that's not at all clear. One poll by YouGov shows that Trump narrowly lost. Another real poll by CNN shows a bigger loss. But here's the problem. Donald Trump didn't need to simply fight Hillary Clinton to a draw last night. He needed to win. He needed to reset this race. He went into this debate down nearly double digits in Pennsylvania, Colorado, Virginia. He needed to turn that thing around, and I don't think he accomplished that. This was a do-or-die debate, and I think that he died.
As we speak, senior members of the Republican leadership in the House, actually all the House Republican members, are calling into a conference call. They are going to be discussing what to do about Donald Trump. Do they distance themselves from him? Do they, continue with endorsing him? There's a lot of turmoil right now on Capitol Hill over the remarks that came out on tape on Friday night. Jerry Seib was writing in the Wall Street Journal that he sees Trump now being liberated from having to associate himself or having to sort of kowtow to senior leaders of the party. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that as for the conference, I don't know what the Republicans are going to do. I do think that Trump did well enough last night. It wasn't a complete meltdown that you're not going to see, Mike Pence drop off the ticket. I think it was possible that Paul Ryan would have tried to pull the plug on his support for Trump. Now that's thrown up in the air. I don't know exactly what they're going to do. I think that Jerry Seib is right, that Trump definitely was ready to kind of throw everything out there. He went nuclear last night, bringing out people have accused Bill Clinton of sexual assault. He actually wanted to sit them in the very booth with Bill Clinton last night, and the debate commission actually stopped that from happening. So very rough and tumble from both candidates, and I think Trump for the next month, unpredictable. No one knows what he's going to say next. No one knows what video is going to drop next. Even if he gets past this whole, very vulgar video in which he brags about making unwanted sexual advances on women, you don't know what's going to happen next. There are women out there who have accused Trump, just as there are women who have accused Bill Clinton. The problem is that Bill Clinton isn't on the ticket. Hillary is.
But there are people who like the way that Trump went after Hillary last night on, pick your issue. But he was in her face about the emails, about the reset with Russia, about Ambassador Chris Stevens and what happened that night in Benghazi. And there are an awful lot of Americans willing to overlook what came out on Friday because they think bigger picture, he took it to Hillary Clinton on some of the issues that they see as her biggest faults.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think Trump can do worse than 40%, maybe the very high 30s if things really go south, because we are in a divided country, a very polarized country where people are going to ultimately just vote the issues at the end of the day, or they find Hillary Clinton is even more inaccessible than Donald Trump. But like I said, if you just take a look back, where things were 72 hours ago, after Trump lost that first debate, as pretty much everyone acknowledged, wasted an entire week getting into a fight, relitigating a fight with a former Miss Universe who he'd called Miss Piggy because she gained weight and Miss Housekeeping because she's Hispanic. He needed to reset the race. He needed to win. He needed to make gains with college-educated women, college-educated men even, and I just don't think he did that. He might have fought her to a draw, but that's not enough to change the race.
John McCormick is senior writer at the Weekly Standard. John, thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to talk a lot more about Donald Trump and also about Republicans, whether or not they're abandoning their presidential candidate. After dozens of GOP lawmakers condemned Trump's comments about women, some pulling their support altogether, what comes next for the party? Plus, it wasn't all about attacks. The final question that got both candidates complimenting each other. And we want to hear from you. What do you think about last night's debate? Who won, in your opinion? Our live chat is up and running. Just go to foxnews.com/happening now to join the conversation.
Captain Khan is an American hero, and if I were president at that time, he would be alive today. The Muslim ban is something that in some form has morphed into a extreme vetting from certain areas of the world.
What he said was extremely unwise and even dangerous, and indeed you can look at the propaganda on a lot of the terrorist sites. And what Donald Trump says about Muslims is used to recruit fighters.
She has tremendous hate in her heart. And when she said deplorables, she meant it.
Okay, Donald, I know you're into big diversion tonight, anything to avoid talking about your campaign and the way it's exploding.
If you look at Bill Clinton, far worse, minor words, and his was action. His was what he's done to women. There's never been anybody in the history of politics in this nation that's been so abusive to women.
From last night's debate, the Weekly Standard summing it up by writing this: the debate's biggest loser was the GOP. Trump does just well enough to doom Republicans on November 8th. That's their take. Let's talk to Karl Rove about his take. Joining us now. Karl, what do you think of that headline?
A little bit of an overstatement. Look, if Trump wins, the Republican Party wins. If Trump loses by a narrow margin, it's better than losing by a big margin. The bigger the gap between Clinton if she wins and Trump if he loses, the worse off for the Republican Party. Better that he had a good night last night than he had a bad night.
So the Weekly Standard has been no fan of Donald Trump as we've looked at their work over the last several months. They go on to write in this piece that the cake is baked, that Hillary Clinton will win the election. But let me just go ahead and read this line. It's that if the party does not cut Trump loose, speaking of the Republicans, then Democrats also take over the Senate and carry the House. We're just hearing from the conference call that's taking place right now among GOP members of the House that Paul Ryan has said, according to Politico, that he will not defend Donald Trump any further and spend the next 29 days keeping the House majority. What do you think of those breaking comments from Paul Ryan, and what do you think is at stake for the House and for the Senate?
Well, look, his first and most important responsibility as the leader of the Republicans in the House is to help reelect the Republican majority in the House. Similarly, the principal responsibility of the Senate Majority Leader is to help reelect this Republican majority in the Senate. Neither of their top responsibilities is to elect the Republican president. That has always been so. It was so in 2000 and 2004 when George W. Bush was running. It is that way today. Even more so since Donald Trump this year has said on numerous occasions, primarily talking about the endorsements of his competitors in the primary, that, quote, party unity is overrated. You may remember he famously said he didn't even want the endorsement of Ted Cruz. He's not a party guy. He has not been a party guy. His largest political contribution was to help elect Hillary Clinton, to help elect Nancy Pelosi as Speaker in 2006. He generously contributed to Democratic presidential candidates over the years, including, Hillary Clinton in 2008. So, look, he ought to stay focused on his business. And my sense is he does himself no good by sending out these tweets saying, look at these Republicans who are distancing themselves from me. They're going to have a price to pay. That's the way it is in American politics. Not everybody supports the Republican nominee with the same amount of enthusiasm as others.
And that's why some Trump supporters would say they really like Donald Trump, because he isn't just part of the club in Washington, D.C., that some describe the establishment as it is. The question then becomes, though, Carl, can Trump win without lawmaker support?
He can't win without having 90% plus of Republicans behind him. And the way to do that is to focus on himself, to spend more time, to spend all of his time making a case for himself and against Hillary Clinton, and knock off this stuff going after other Republicans. It doesn't help him. The sense of disunity. People are going to say what they're going to say running for other offices. There were Republicans in 2000 who distanced themselves from George W. Bush. And 2004, same thing because of the war. And yet Bush didn't draw attention to it because he knew that made him weaker in the eyes of the public. He stayed focused on his mission. Trump would be well advised to do the same.
We talked a little bit about your political action committee and where you're looking to spend money, and a lot of that was down ballot. Where are your resources going?
Virtually all of it, and $155 million to Senate races.
So talk to us a little bit about that. Where are you investing, Carl? What do those Senate races look like? Are some of those Republicans in the race of their life because of Donald Trump, or is it because of other issues?
Well, we're spending our money in races all across the country. We've spent a lot previously in Ohio and Florida. Those races are looking increasingly good. We were ready to move into Arizona, but John McCain's doing a great job. Most of our money now is going into the races in Nevada, Missouri, Indiana, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and New Hampshire. And we'll continue to spend in Florida. We don't have any further expenditures planned in Ohio. And our object is there are 11 races that will determine the control of the Senate. 44 Republican seats are either not up or are not being seriously contested. 45 Democrats in a similar place. We've got to win 7 of the 11 if the Republicans lose the White House, and 6 of the 11 if they do win the White House. And our object is to give the Republicans a majority in either instance, and a comfortable majority if possible.
A quick final question for you, because this is a central question for the Republican Party, not just now, but moving forward. What do you think this election cycle has meant as far as recruiting new members to support Republican lawmakers, whether or not it's Donald Trump or a member of the Senate?
Well, we don't know yet because remember, you just said recruit new members. A test of that is that as you recruit some people, do you lose more people? As we recruit more blue-collar, high school-educated new Republicans, or activate old Republicans who had fallen away, do we lose people who are Latino Republicans, African-American Republicans, and most important of all, college-educated suburbanites? We won't know that for 29 more days. But look, both parties are in a period of disruption. Bernie Sanders, a nondescript backbencher who had never attended a Democratic convention or ever run for office as a Democrat, got 47% of the vote in the Democratic contest. And on our side, a man, as you pointed out, who's not been a Republican over the course of his political career or over the course of his adult life, he has gotten 44%. So both parties are facing disruption, and how they deal with it, win or lose after the election, is going to be interesting to watch.
I'll be curious of your analysis after the election to see about that party shifts, and what we may or may not see. Carl, great to have you in the program. Thank you.
Great. Thank you,
And
Jenna.
we'll be right back with more happening now. Still very much a big story. Aid workers are rushing to bring food, water, and medicine to southwestern Haiti, nearly a week after Hurricane Matthew devastated this very impoverished country. There are reports the death toll in Haiti has now surpassed 1,000 people, and that number could still rise. Tens of thousands have lost homes, and there's still no electricity. Many remote communities are still completely cut off because roads and bridges have collapsed. Officials say there's already a jump in cholera cases after major flooding in that country.
And here in the U.S., the Carolinas are still feeling the after effects of the hurricane. Dramatic video shows the moments when a young child was rescued from a sinking car.
Oh, come on, sweetie.
Forecasters warn the flooding in North Carolina could still get worse as rivers continue to rise. At least 21 people have died in the U.S. because of the storm, many of them swept away in floodwaters. Rob Schmidt is live in Savannah, Georgia, where things are looking a little better. Cleanup, I guess, is underway, huh, Rob?
Yeah, John, looking a little better. They're finally letting people back into Savannah so people can go home, survey the damage. What they're going to find is situations like this all around, especially on the eastern side of Savannah. Massive trees, these water oaks, a lot of them have fallen down right onto power lines. There are 1 million people in North Carolina and South Carolina without power right now, and a power company told a guy in this neighborhood it could be a couple of weeks until the power gets back on. Fortunately, as you can see, the weather in Georgia this time of the year is beautiful. That will help a little bit. As you said before, John, the death toll continues to rise in this. It is now up to 21. It has just risen this morning with one person confirmed dead in Virginia from the storm. Here in Savannah, 2 deaths. A family man who stayed back to watch the house, a sad story, sleeping in bed, crushed by a massive pine tree that was pushed over by those Category 2 hurricane force winds. And another killed by flying debris. This man went outside of his house during the storm to fix an unlatched door. He was hit by a piece of debris. Such a sad story in both of these cases. New numbers, though, this morning say there have been 10 killed in North Carolina. Flooding did by far the most damage there. 1,500 people still stranded by floodwaters in one badly hit area of North Carolina. 1,500 people. Those rescues continue today. This is video of a Coast Guard rescue of a man from his rooftop in North Carolina. At least 10 others killed in South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida combined. We actually tried yesterday to head to Hilton Head, South Carolina, the area where they took the eye of the storm when it came ashore. Nobody allowed back onto Hilton Head. People lined up on the highway waiting. One man actually rode the storm out at home, and then on Saturday, after it had cleared up, he made a crucial mistake of trying to run up the street.
We actually left to get some, we went to the store to get some water and gas about maybe 2 or 3 o'clock yesterday. And we came back up, to get back in. They told us we couldn't get in. So they told us to go to 462 in Ridgeland. Yeah. We went all the way to 462, got there. It was blocked off there, too.
Well, we talked to him on Sunday, John, and that was the day after he'd been waiting 24 hours. He might still be there. Hilton Head Island's still closed. Back to you.
And the frustrations are just going to keep building from here. Rob Schmidt. Thank you, Rob.
A U.S. Navy destroyer coming under fire near Yemen. Who was behind it? We're live at the White House for this very important story. Also, Donald Trump not only taking on Hillary Clinton last night, he also went after the moderators, claiming unfair treatment. Did he have a point? Our media panel weighs in next.
Mr. Trump, I want to get to audience questions and online questions.
So she's allowed to do that, but I'm not allowed to respond.
You're going to get to respond right now.
That sounds fair.
Fox News Alert, we mentioned this conference call that's taking place while we're on the air. The most important person on this conference call is Speaker Paul Ryan, speaking to members of the House. And here's what we've heard from this meeting so far, this conference call. The Speaker told members that all you need to do is do what's best for you in your district. Chad Pergram, who covers the House, is giving us this little tidbit of information. You all need to do what's best for you in your district. He goes on to say he will not defend Donald Trump or campaign with him for the next 30 days. You might remember there was supposed to be a campaign event in Wisconsin this weekend that was canceled after the video came out. And I say the video because you all probably know what I'm referring to. Paul Ryan will also say that he'll spend his entire energy over the next 29 days making sure that Hillary Clinton does not get a blank check with the Democrat-controlled Congress. So that's the focus from House Republicans today on their district, on their races, and Paul Ryan says he will no longer defend or campaign with Donald Trump. More on this as we get it.
Well, Donald Trump not only criticizing his opponent, but also the moderators last night. The GOP nominee arguing that Anderson Cooper and Martha Raddatz weren't being fair to him and implied that they were going easy on Hillary Clinton.
Mr. Trump, I want to get to audience questions and online questions.
So she's allowed to do that, but I'm not allowed to respond.
You're going to get to respond right now.
That sounds fair.
Answer the question.
Why don't
do you still believe
her? You
I
interrupt
do.
me all the time. Why don't you interrupt her?
Would you please?
I'd like to know, Anderson, why aren't you bringing up the emails? I'd like to know. Why aren't you getting
brought up
to
the
bottom?
emails.
No, it hasn't. It hasn't. And it hasn't been finished at all.
Ken Carpowitz has a question.
It's nice to 1 on 3.
Joining us now, Kelly Riddell, a columnist and commentary writer for the Washington Times, Leslie Marshall, a syndicated radio host and the Fox News contributor, and Alan Colmes, also a radio host and Fox News contributor. Kelly, you say that you agree with Donald Trump. The moderators, you think, were not fair to him. Why?
Well, there's no doubt that he walked into the lion's den last night and miraculously came out alive. Listen, the first 6 questions off the top of the debate were dealing with the leaked audio tape. Now, that should have been dealt with, but that consumed 30 minutes of a 90-minute debate. Moreover, about halfway through the debate, we saw that the moderators interrupted Donald Trump 14 times, compared to Hillary Clinton only 3 times. They hit him on his tax returns and all of the hot-button issues, but the only thing that was brought up was an online question regarding Mrs. Clinton and the leaked WikiLeaks audio where she said she had 2 personas, one in public and one in private. They never followed up with another question on that or asked her anything about the Clinton Foundation. I think that this was a very biased debate, and the moderators wanted to take center stage.
Leslie, what do you think about that?
I honestly think, and this is not to your point, so I thought he was being juvenile. I thought he was being petty. When you look at the exact time by the clock, he had almost 90 seconds more than Secretary Clinton. In addition to that, one of the reasons that he was interrupted more is because he kept going over his time. He kept making the comments. He would not answer the questions posed. If you're asked a question about the humanitarian condition in Syria, why are you talking about troops in Mosul, which is in Iraq? I think that the moderators did their job. And I'm not saying that because Hillary's winning in the polls today as to who won the debate. I just find it interesting that somebody running for president says the comments that he does. I don't find them professional. I don't find them presidential. If you're in a debate, answer the question, stick to your time.
All right, Alan, but whether you like what he said or not, he made a lot of points that a lot of people say need to be made about the way the country is being run.
Well, look, this is a guy who it's always rigged against him, right? The debate rigs against him. The election's rigged against him. He can't get a fair shake. As Leslie pointed out, he got more airtime than Hillary Clinton did. And it's the job of the moderators to make the trains run on time. When he's asked about the audio tapes, which was the big story of the day, they should have spent a lot of time on it. And he answers about tax reform. He answers about everything else. He didn't respond to a number of questions directly. And it's their job to make sure that he answers the question. The moderators did a great job.
The bottom line is the American people do not care about Donald Trump's sex life or Bill Clinton's sex life, for that matter.
Obviously.
They care about the policies, and that's what debates are for.
Then tell Donald Trump to stop bringing up Bill Clinton's sex life.
But these moderators seem to want to get more in the mud than they did elevate the issues of policy.
This is the guy who
and Donald Trump pivoted to the policy issues. He apologized and he said that was locker room banter. Then he wanted to pivot to the issues, and the moderators brought it right back to the
right before the debate with Clinton accusers. So you can't play that game that no one cares about the sex stuff, because he held a news conference right before the debate, bringing in and paying for to fly them in Kathleen Willey, Paula Jones, and Renita Broderick. Come on.
All right, but some would say, you know, you got to fight fire with fire, that it's a legitimate issue.
It's the lowest of the low. They go low, we go high.
All right.
You go high with condensation. You don't go high. You go high in your talk, but you go low and with your punches.
Okay, great.
What about Leslie, the fairness of the moderators, the interruptions, etc.? Were they piling on Donald Trump?
No, as I said, I think that Donald Trump needed to be reined in, if you will. Part of the job of a moderator is like a traffic cop. I mean, you're keeping the flow of the traffic and the time. And to the comments that were just made, the questions came from either the audience on the set or those who were online. If you look at the polls, and if you look what dominated, excuse me, we don't need to talk over each other. If you look at what dominated the news cycles, not just on the networks, but online, the people are very concerned about what was said by Donald Trump in those tapes. Bill Clinton is not running for president. Donald Trump is. And as a woman, I think it is sexist to look to his wife for the actions of her husband or alleged allegations against her husband. And I agree with Alan. If it's not an issue, then why did you have that conference before and put these 3 women there in the front row on your dime and hold a conference? Basically, you're not just opening the the door. You're saying bring it on, game on.
Right.
So I think that's why the American people weigh in and ask such questions.
Also, if Hillary Clinton's an enabler, does that make Melania Trump an enabler too? And all those other ex-wives?
They spent 30 minutes of the debate talking about this, so I think that issue was covered. Martha Raddatz wanted, it was like Donald Trump she has such contempt for Donald Trump, and that shone through last night during the debate, where she actually entered the debate and started wanting to jostle back and forth with Donald Trump on his policy in Syria. I'm sorry, that is not Martha Raddatz's call. It's up to the American people to determine whose policy they support more, and she didn't even let him get the chance to put forth that policy. She interrupted him 6 times during that back and forth with her own opinion.
All right, we'll let the American people decide whether the media were being fair or not. But it's a very good discussion. Leslie Marshall, Alan Combs, Kelly Riddell, thank you.
There's a lot going on in the world despite politics right here in our country, and the Navy says 2 missiles fired from Yemen landed near an American destroyer in the Red Sea. The missiles were launched last night from territory held by Iran-backed rebels. They landed in the water near the USS Mason. Officials say it's unclear whether the ship itself was targeted. We'll have more on this now. Kristen Fisher live at the White House. Kristen?
Well, Jenna, this Navy warship wasn't hit, but the Pentagon says that this ship was definitely targeted. And make no mistake, this marks a major escalation between the U.S. and the Houthi rebels operating in Yemen, who are backed by Iran. Now, this happened in the Red Sea, right off the coast of Yemen on Sunday. The Pentagon says the USS Mason was simply conducting routine operations in international waters when it detected 2 inbound missiles over the span of just 1 hour. Quote, both missiles impacted the water before reaching the ship. There were no injuries to our sailors and no damage to the ship. We assessed the missiles were launched from Houthi-controlled territory in Yemen. Now, the USS Mason is actually a guided missile destroyer, and in this case, the ship did employ onboard defensive measures after the first inbound missile was detected. That's how serious this incident was. And the whole reason the USS Mason was in that area to begin with was because last week, those same Houthi rebels did hit and almost sank a ship that belonged to the United Arab Emirates, which is a U.S. ally. Now, the UAE is part of a coalition led by Saudi Arabia and backed by the United States, and that coalition has been fighting the Houthi rebels in Yemen's civil war since 2015. And you remember, it was around that time that the U.S. closed its embassy in Yemen. So tensions have been simmering for some time, but now that these Houthi rebels have actually allegedly fired at a Navy warship, that is a big, big deal. Jenna?
Kristen, thank you.
And a potential terror attack stopped in its tracks. You won't believe who helped nab the bombing suspect. Details on his capture and how it all went down. Korea marks a milestone amid word it is preparing for another nuclear test. What the U.S. and South Korea's military are doing right now. We're live with an update.
Well, some new information on a bomb plot thwarted in Germany as we learn that 3 Syrians helped capture the suspect. The men going to a police station with a photo of the suspect in captivity, urging officers to arrest him after the suspect escaped over the weekend when authorities raided his apartment. Police say the suspect had been granted asylum in Germany, and they now say he has links to ISIS. Right now, though they're trying to learn more about the bomb plots, including its intended target, we'll keep you posted as we hear more.
Well, the U.S. is flexing its military muscle, sending the nuclear-powered USS Ronald Reagan aircraft carrier to the waters off South Korea for joint naval drills. This comes on the very same day the North marked 71 years after its founding of the ruling party there. Just days after reports that the rogue nation could be gearing up for a 6th nuclear test or a long-range rocket launch. Greg Palcott is following all of the developments from our London bureau. Greg?
John, you are right. More U.S.-led defensive activity aimed at heading off any offensive activity from an increasingly dangerous global player. The USS Reagan is just the tip of the spear of a major U.S. naval presence taking part in exercises with the South Korean Navy in the waters off of South Korea. And it's being launched on a day that North Korea is marking the founding of its national party. It's dates like these that Pyongyang in the past have used to launch their own offensive actions, missile launches or nuclear tests. So far, none have been reported, but it was reported over the weekend, John, that there was more activity at a satellite rocket launch facility. There's also been preparations at a nuclear test site. In Seoul today, U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Samantha Powers, met with South Korean officials. They're discussing another round of sanctions aimed at hemming North Korea in, but so far it hasn't been doing too good. According to a new report from the RAND Corporation, as of now, there is enough nuclear fissile material in the hands of Pyongyang to make 20 nuclear bombs. By 2020, there could be enough for 100 bombs and the rockets, the missiles, to launch them to their targets that could include the United States. This is definitely very high on the agenda of whoever is the next president. Back to you, John.
Close eye on North Korea. Greg Palcott, thank you.
Well, more serious problems for Samsung. Why the tech giant has now halted production of its Galaxy Note 7 phones. Plus, a surprising final question at last night's debate. Did you stick around for this?
My question to both of you is, regardless of the current rhetoric, would either of you name one positive thing that you respect in one another?
The candidates answer one of the few uplifting moments from last night. That's still ahead.
Big day on Outnumbered. Let's check out what's coming up top of the hour.
Yeah, and getting bigger with some new developments right now. A bombshell announcement from House Speaker Paul Ryan. He will not defend or campaign with Donald Trump for the rest of the campaign season.
Meanwhile, WikiLeaks releases thousands more emails, purportedly from Hillary Clinton's campaign chair, after Trump slammed her in last night's debate over Friday's batch. Will this hurt her trustworthiness even more?
And more complaints about biased debate moderators, this time from Trump himself. Was it 3-on-1 last night, as he claimed?
Yes, all that and more in the no spin zone. Mr. Bill O'Reilly, our hashtag one lucky guy on this big day on Outnumbered. Join us top of the hour.
See you in 7 minutes.
Thank you. Well, big news now from Samsung stopping production of its Galaxy Note 7 after more safety issues with that phone. The company recalling the devices last month after reports they could explode. Samsung now saying the replacement devices may also be a fire risk. Rick Leventhal is live from our New York City newsroom with the latest on this. Rick?
Well, Jenna, this is a dangerous and some might argue potentially deadly defect. Imagine what might happen if your phone caught fire while you were driving at 70 miles per hour. Analysts suggest the Galaxy Note 7 snafu is costing Samsung hundreds of millions of dollars, in part because the device itself is so pricey, more than $800 without a service provider plan. And now it's being pulled from shelves. Yesterday, AT&T announced it would stop selling or replacing the phones, and T-Mobile also said it was halting sales and exchanges because some of the devices were smoking and catching fire, despite the recall that was supposed to fix the issue. It actually happened on a plane last week. Southwest Airlines Flight 994 was about to push back from the gate when the pilot called the control tower to report smoke in the cabin. 81 passengers quickly exited the plane while the fire department responded, finding damage to the phone so severe they couldn't tell what model it was. The owner says it was a Samsung replacement phone that was supposedly safe.
I noticed smoke just pouring out of my pocket, pulled the phone out of my pocket, threw it onto the ground where it continued to smoke.
Samsung initially won plenty of praise for its massive recall in early September, the largest ever in the smartphone industry, telling 2.5 million customers to send in their Galaxy Note 7 so the company could swap them out after finding a new supplier for the battery cell that was blamed for causing some devices to light up the wrong way. Now, after this latest string of incidents, Samsung stock is tanking with numbers in the red on the Korean exchange. The company told the Wall Street Journal, quote, it's temporarily adjusting the Galaxy Note 7 production schedule in order to take further steps to ensure quality and safety matters, and hopes to provide an update within a month. The big question is whether Samsung can ever restore confidence again in the device it once called the most intelligent smartphone we've ever created. Jenna.
Rick, thank you.
Well, new next hour of Happening Now, a heartbreaking shooting in California. 2 police officers killed, one just back from maternity leave with a 4-month-old daughter at home. The latest on the investigation. Plus, new 2016 analysis, the producer of The Apprentice saying he'll sue anyone on the staff who leaks damaging footage. So would he have a case? Our legal panel weighs in on that. And we want to hear from you. Who do you think won last night's debate? Our live chat is up and running. Go to foxnews.com/happeningnow to join the conversation. Last night's debate got downright ugly at times, but the final question ended the evening on a positive note. An audience member asking Mr. Trump and Mrs. Clinton what they respect about one another. Here's what they said.
I respect his children. His children are incredibly able and devoted, and I think that says a lot about Donald. I don't agree with nearly anything else he says or does, but I do respect that.
I will say this about Hillary. She's a fighter. I disagree with much of what she's fighting for. I do disagree with her judgment in many cases. But she does fight hard, and she doesn't quit, and she doesn't give up, and I consider that to be a very good trait.
Now, they got some nice words out. My memory of the event was that neither one of them wanted to go first with that.
That's right.
Their answers to that particular
They
question.
should have got the coin that they flipped to see who was going to start, to see who was going to answer that question first.
But they did say some nice things.
And it was actually a nice way to end the event after, as you greatly described it, John, a rollicking 90 minutes.
It was that. We're asking what you think. Get on our website, let us know, and we'll see you back here in an hour.
Outnumbered starts right now.